Well, according to the Rural Weather website, ruralweather.co.nz, there is a high pressure dominating out in the east of New Zealand, while a small but potent low from the Tasman Sea moves into the west coast this week. For more on this, our weather commentator, Mr. Phil Duncan. How are you today, sir?
I am very good, Sarah. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Now, we are nearing the end of February. How's the rainfall looking for the rest of the month across the country?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that we're almost at the end of the month. And talking about that low, you're just talking about that small but potent low. That's it here. Heading towards the lower South Island. It's coming in for Tuesday and Wednesday morning, mostly for the west coast. So they've got a fair bit of rain, and Met Services now today indicated a chance of some severe gales as well, which wouldn't surprise me as that moves in. But you asked about rainfall. So this is the rainfall for the rest of February, right through till midnight this coming Sunday. And it doesn't look like much rain. You know, central New Zealand, 0 millimetres for the rest of the week. If you're lucky, there might be a downpour in the ranges that spreads out to your farm, but really all the numbers across much of the North Island between 0 millimetres and 5 or 10 is the most common sort of number. Bay of Plenty, perhaps slightly better chance of getting up to that 10 millimetres because the easterly winds are going to be kicking in for the North Island, very La Nina-like. And then you can see that low in the Tasman coming into the west coast where they've got anywhere between 50 and 150 millimetres of rain, and some of that will spill over into Southland, Otago and Canterbury. Obviously, the further inland you are, the better the chances are. But the coastal areas, again, 5 millimetres sort of maximum coming up over the next week or so. So it's definitely a wet event for the West and South Island, but for everybody else, we're still in that drier than average pattern.
And heading into March, I mean, there is certain things that farmers really focus on, particularly hotspots such as facial eczema on farms across New Zealand. So is it a bit of a mixed bag, and how is March looking in comparison to average?
Yeah, well, facial eczema certainly is an issue. With the rain we had last week, and it was so humid, that was definitely an issue for a time, but we've had this run of dry weather. As we go on towards March, what we're likely to see, this is the sea surface temperature map. I quite like it because it's pretty, but it shows you the extreme. Up here in the darker red, that's 30-degree sea surface temperatures. Then you got down here in the dark blue, 4 degrees. What you'll notice is there's that sort of La Nina thing where it's warm at the north, but it's also being pulled down in eastern areas as well. And that does bode well for some rainmakers. Look at this map. This is around about the 4th of March. And I've drawn with my amazing handwriting the numbers of the lows. And all around northern Australia, you know, there's a couple of tropical cyclones up there. Number 2 especially looks like a tropical cyclone. A weaker low up there. The Tasman Sea has a low in it. We've got another low just south of Tonga, another one just east of the South Island, and then another one even further so out towards the Cook Islands. So that's a very busy tropical map, very much in line with this time of the year going into March. Sea surface temperatures at their highest, a better chance for making lows and rainmakers. So I think we might have some chance of getting some rain in there, but facial eczema might be more of an issue in March because we're likely to get higher humidity with setups like that one.
Yeah, and humidity, of course, is one of those things that you can track on ruralweather.co.nz, and any of the maps, if you are listening along on podcast, you can also get at ruralweather.co.nz, but also make sure you follow the Facebook pages as well, Phil, so you can actually watch this video of our interview just as much. If you were following along last week, you would have seen I have a really wonderful mug here. It's got the words "Proud to be a farmer," and it is one of those great enamel camping mugs, you know, a good smoko mug, you'd say. Thanks to the team at Global HQ. They've given me one to give away for the rest of the year every week, thanks to our partnership also with Rural Weather. So Brett from Drury, I drew out. He sent in his address. So let's work out how someone like Brett can get a very detailed, personalised report for their weather at Brett's place.
Absolutely. By the way, Brett, those mugs, you can drink anything in them from hot to cold. I've experienced, I've tried, I've got one myself. So yeah, Araremu, which is in Drury in Auckland area. So this is Brett's area where you live, and it's a good classic sort of area between Auckland and Waikato where it's very hilly. Some beautiful farmland in there, but you got all the Hanua Ranges, the Bombay Hills, and even the Coromandel Ranges all in the way. So when you're trying to work out the weather, Brett, you can go to our website. It's got Araremu in there. You can find your very nearest location. And what I've just showing you here is really the snapshot of the week ahead. And it's showing in the grey a fair bit of cloud coming in, which we've actually noticed today after a big run of completely sunny weather. The clouds come in more so this week. Pretty warm, highs in the mid-20s, overnight lows in the mid-teens. That's a good setup. And the pale blue you see here, that's just the chance of rain. Dark blue indicates rain total. So you don't see any dark blue because what we're showing is just the risk of maybe a shower. Now on the detailed part of the page, when you scroll a little bit further down, you'll see all this detailed data. Every one of this, you can click on every day, and on every section, you can then expand. What I'm interested in here is the air pressure. We're the only website in New Zealand, New Zealand-based site, to have air pressure in there as a forecast for your local area. So when we're looking at Araremu and Drury, you can see 1025, 1023 hectopascals. That shows that even though there's a risk of a shower, that air pressure is very, very high. And what I've done here is you've clicked on one of the days. So you can see hourly, hour by hour, what that air pressure trend is doing, which is really useful for, say, like the west coast of the South Island at the moment with that low that's on its way. The other feature we've got, if you go back to the top of the rural weather page, you'll see the fog cloud button. And this is really good at working out just more than the cloud cover, but what does that mean in the sense of like potential for fog or low cloud? And interestingly enough, we actually have for Araremu and Drury a possible fog low cloud risk at 5 in the morning on Thursday the 25th. Now, I'm not sure if it'll be foggy or not because there's a bit of a breeze blowing around at the moment, but 6 km/h winds, that means that there's a good chance that you'll get low cloud or some fog. My guess is it's just some low cloud. But that's another feature we've got on there which is exclusive to our website. And the final thing for you, Brett, is the temperature part of the top of the page. This is really cool because there's a lot of information packed into this. The green, the big green area you see, that's humidity. So you can see the sort of dorsal fin effect of afternoon heating where the humidity drops, nighttime comes in, and just before dawn, it's at its highest. That's when you've also got the highest chance of that low cloud and fog. And the red line you see on here, that's what we call the humidex, or the feels like temperature. They use this right across Australia, across Canada, and it was in fact the Canadian Met Service that helped us build it. So it's very, very accurate, and that is basically when you add humidity and air temperature to work out how hot it is, the feels like temperature. So that red line is what the feels like is. The pink line, that's just your normal air temperature that we're used to seeing and recording. So there's a heck of a lot of information on that site for that, that small location, and we've got locations all across New Zealand with all of that detailed information. It's really quite awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such a detailed report. Brett follows Cirrus Country very closely, so I know he will take a lot of information from what you say. It's interesting you say that feels like. The other day I was watching our more mainstream weather reports as we get on our bulletin news, and they have, 1 layer and 2 layer, and I thought, golly gosh, how dumbed down have we got to tell people how to dress these days, Phil?
And it doesn't work for me because it's so subjective. Like I tend to wear a T-shirt all year round. When I go and visit my Canadian cousins in Toronto, they're always amazed that when it's minus 20, I'll just pop out wearing a jersey. I won't even bother putting all the jackets on. So it depends on who you are. And I know a number of farmers in the south of the country when it's cold, still walking around in singlets and shorts. So yeah, I think the layer of clothing thing is maybe for the city people who don't follow the weather as much. For our audience, that's why we get into all that information. You can work it out yourself, and things like the humidex, very helpful at this time of the year when you're doing outdoor jobs and it's like humid like it is at the moment. But another couple months and that blue line for the wind chill will become the bigger, more prominent feature. So we've got it all covered for summer and going in towards winter.
Certainly do. Thank you so much, Phil Duncan from ruralweather.co.nz, every Monday here on Cirrus Country. And of course, we have the Proud to be a Farmer Smoko mug giveaway. And of course, every single week we will draw out from our emails. All you have to do is email sarah@cirruscountry.com. All it is your location, your address. So therefore, Phil can provide you with a detailed weather report just to showcase how rural weather works. works as well as you get that sent in the mail. So off to you this week, Brett. First out of the bag. Thank you so much.